Hey everyone, Ron Milligan with RE/MAX Select here. I've got the latest numbers for you for the close-in condo market. So we're mainly looking at condominiums. This is kind of an informal sample of condominium sales from the river to the West Hills, and then from the North Pearl down to the South Waterfront. We've been tracking these numbers down here for quite some time now, and have noticed a couple of things that are kind of good for the condo market, which really suffered last year. So the number of active listings, or supply, the supply side of the equation, has stayed steady from last month. So last month we had approximately 292 active listings. This month we had 295 active listings. So this is for mid-August versus mid-July. And in July, we had seen the first significant drop. It was like a 14-15% drop in the number of active listings. And that number had been really steady since about February. You know, maybe going up a little, going down a little bit, had been around 350. So it's good to see a smaller supply last month and in August as well. That is also good news when we couple it with the demand side, which is buyer activity. The number of active buyers stayed pretty steady, and it's been pretty steady looking at my numbers here since about March. So in March we had 113 deals under contract. This month is 114, and in the interim it's just kind of gone up and down, plus 10, minus 10 in that range. So supply is decreasing, demand is increasing. That's good for sellers in a tough market for condominiums. When I do the equation for the inventory in months, so doing that measure of buyer demand and supply, so supply and demand, we're coming up with 3.6 months of inventory, and that's if I base the buyer demand on an average of sales over the last 12 months. 3.6 months of inventory is probably, you know, on the seller advantage side of the equation. You know, in the past, we've always said that, or historically said that a balanced market was around 6 months of inventory. If you go over that number, it's a buyer's advantage. You go under that number, it's a seller's advantage. Recently, analysts have been kind of changing their minds about that, saying that a balanced market's probably somewhere around 4, maybe some are even saying as low as 3 months of inventory. What I've been saying is a balanced market's probably somewhere in the range of 4 to 6 months of inventory. And at 3.6 months of inventory, we're into that seller advantage side of the equation. If I'm just looking at the most recent 30 days of sales though, and I'm doing that calculation, I come up with 2.73 months of inventory, which is pretty much seller's advantage territory. That being said, it doesn't feel like that. Condos that we're listing may sit on the market. You know, the average days on market is pretty high. The average days on market right now is 62, and the median is 34. And then if we looked at collective days on market, so maybe someone listed the condo, canceled the listing, relisted it, canceled it again, and relisted it. We keep track of those collective days that they spent on market. That's for median 50 days, and for average it's 98 days. For sitting on the market. So, you know, you can sit on the market for a couple of months, maybe get 4, maybe get 5 showings. It's not a lot, especially when we compare it to what's going on in the single family house market. But what we do know, and what we've been experiencing, is that those buyers who are out there looking, those 5 buyers that come to see that condo in that, you know, that 30 to 60 day time period, they're all serious buyers. No one is out there tire kicking. These are folks that have, you know, they've got cash in hand, pre-approval in hand, and they're ready to go. So it isn't taking a lot of showings to get a deal closed, to get a condo sold. And you aren't necessarily having to give up gobs and gobs of money like we were last year. So that's good news. But when I'm talking to my sellers, I'm really talking about, hey, it's gonna take some patience. This is a long-term process. We're not gonna get a lot of showings. You need to show some patience, but we will get it sold. So that average sale price as a percentage of the asking price right now is 98.33%. And then if we base that on the original asking price, so they listed at one point, they did a price reduction, maybe did another price reduction, and then it sold, what was the sale price versus that original listing price. That's a little more painful. That's at 96.26%. Then if we're comparing the first 7 months, the average sale price of the first 7 months of 2020 to the same period of time in 2022, we are looking at a 9.3% increase in the average sale price. Don't get too excited about that because last year was really, really crummy. So the long and short of it for the condo market, the numbers look really good. It's not as good as the numbers look, but it's also not a terrible market and it's moving in the right direction. So if you've got questions about what's going on in your neck of the woods, in your particular building, or which properties are selling and why, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to share what I know, and we'll see you next week. Oh, not next week, we'll see you next month.